My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 33 years old, and back in early 2021, my life was built on a foundation of simple, predictable routines. I worked as a financial analyst for a mid-sized investment firm in Austin, Texas. The pay was good, around $85,000 a year, enough to cover my half of the rent on our two-bedroom apartment in the Zilker neighborhood and still put a decent chunk into savings every month. I'm not the kind of guy who thrives on drama. I wake up, I go to work, I come home. Simple, clean, predictable. I had been with Chloe Martin for 4 years when she dropped the bomb. She was 31 at the time, a freelance graphic designer with a strong portfolio but an income that was, to put it mildly, inconsistent. For years. That's 4 years of splitting grocery bills, taking turns choosing the Netflix show, and learning her exact coffee order by heart. An oat milk latte with an extra shot and absolutely no foam. We weren't a perfect fairy tale couple, but we were steady. We were comfortable, or so I thought. It was a Tuesday night in March 2021. We were sitting on our worn-out couch after a simple pasta dinner I'd thrown together. Chloe had been quiet for a few days, a distant look in her eyes that I chalked up to stress from her freelance deadlines. Then she turned to me, and I saw that look. The one where you know someone is about to say something they've rehearsed in their head 100 times. "Ethan," she began, her voice carefully neutral, "I need to talk to you about us." I muted the TV. "Okay. What's up?" She took a deep, shaky breath. "I love you. I really, really do. But I'm not ready to get married or take that next big step yet. I've been thinking, what if we open things up?" I just stared at her, the words hanging in the air between us like smoke. "Like," she continued, rushing to fill the silence, "we stay together, but we're also allowed to see other people. No pressure, no expectations. Just exploring." I sat there for a long moment, letting the idea settle. An open relationship. I'd heard about it, of course. I knew people who'd tried it. Most of them were now single. But here's the thing. I didn't panic. I didn't get angry. My mind, trained to analyze data and assess risk, immediately switched into analytical mode. I looked at her and asked the most logical question. "Is there someone else you're already interested in?" Her eyes widened just a fraction, a micro-expression of guilt. "What? No, not really. I just think we should experience more before we lock ourselves down forever." "Not really." 2 words that told me everything I needed to know. Not really meant yes, but I'm not brave enough to admit it yet. "All right," I said, my voice calm. "If that's what you need to do, we can try it." She blinked, genuinely surprised. I don't think she expected me to agree so easily. She probably wanted a fight. A big, dramatic scene where I would beg her to reconsider, profess my undying love, and promise to change. But I'm a numbers guy. I analyze risk. And in that moment, the risk of clinging to someone who was actively looking for the exit seemed far greater than the risk of simply opening the door for her. "Really?" she asked, a wave of relief washing over her face. "You're okay with this? If you need this to figure out what you want," I said, "then yes, we'll try it." She smiled, a bright, relieved smile, and hugged me. I hugged her back, but something inside me had already irrevocably shifted. It was like watching a stock you've invested in for years suddenly start to tank. You don't sell it all off in a panic, but you start paying much, much closer attention. You start preparing your exit strategy. The very next day, I downloaded 2 dating apps. I set up my profiles with complete honesty. I used recent photos, listed my actual job, my real interests, hiking the Greenbelt, trying new recipes, reading nonfiction. And right there in my bio, I made it clear, in an open relationship, looking for genuine connections. I wasn't just doing this to get back at her. I was doing this for me. I wanted to see what was out there, and I wanted to do it the right way. Within a week, I had matches. Good ones. A lawyer named Jenna who loved true crime podcasts as much as I did. A teacher named Kate who had a dry, sarcastic humor that made me laugh out loud. And a nurse named Maya. She was 30, sharp, fiercely independent, worked at Del Seaton Medical Center, and ran marathons for fun. I started going on dates. Casual coffees, walks around Lady Bird Lake, easy dinners at food trucks. These were real conversations with interesting adult women. And the more I talked to them, the more I realized a startling truth. I wasn't missing out on anything by being with Chloe. I was missing out on being with someone who was actually sure about me. Meanwhile, Chloe's reaction to my new social life was confusing. She thought she had been granted a hall pass while I was supposed to sit at home, waiting patiently for her to return. She'd check my phone when I left it on the counter, a casual glance that was anything but. She'd ask pointed questions about where I was going when I got dressed to go out. One night, she saw me texting with Maya. "Who's that?" she asked, her tone sharp. "Someone I'm seeing," I replied calmly. "Remember? Open relationship." Her jaw tightened. "Right, of course." But she didn't like it. Not one bit. This wasn't how her plan was supposed to work. I started noticing things about her, too. She was on her phone constantly, a secretive smile playing on her lips as she texted. She had a new friend from her co-working space, a guy named Alex, who she mentioned a little too often. Alex said this. Alex thinks that. I didn't have to ask. The data was clear. In May, on a whim, I adopted a dog from the Austin Animal Center. A 3-year-old mutt with soulful eyes and floppy ears. I named him Booker. He became my anchor in the quiet storm of my life. We'd go for runs along the river in the mornings, and he'd curl up at my feet while I read at night. He didn't care about open relationships or emotional uncertainty. He just wanted consistency, a good scratch behind the ears, and the occasional treat. I understood that. Chloe hated Booker. She complained about the hair on the couch, the early morning wake-ups, the way he'd follow me from room to room. But I didn't care. Booker was my decision, my responsibility, my joy. By June, my connection with Maya, the nurse, was growing into something real. We just clicked. She was direct, confident, and knew what she wanted from life. We talked about our situations with a refreshing honesty. There were no games, no pretense. And that's when I knew. I didn't need to explore or test the waters anymore. I already had my answer. I wanted someone who was sure about me. Chloe noticed the shift. It was subtle at first. I was a little less available for our usual routines, a little less invested in the small talk about her day. I wasn't being cold. I was simply reallocating my emotional energy. My investment in us was no longer yielding returns, so I was moving my assets elsewhere. One Saturday in late June, she finally confronted me. I was packing a backpack for a hike with Maya. "You're going out again?" she asked, her arms crossed. "Yeah, heading out to the Barton Creek Greenbelt. Should be back this afternoon." "With her?" "The nurse." "Yeah, with Maya." Her voice was tight. "You've been seeing her a lot." I looked at her, my expression neutral. "Is that a problem?" "I don't know, is it? Is it serious?" "We enjoy each other's company," I said, using the same detached language she had used. "That's what this whole open thing was about, right? Exploring." She didn't have an answer for that. She just stood there, looking like she'd been slapped. I didn't think you'd get so involved." "What did you think would happen, Chloe?" "I don't know," she said, her voice rising. "I guess I thought we'd both just casually date a little, but still be each other's main priority." "You can't have it both ways," I said, my voice still calm. "You can't hedge your bets. You either want commitment or you want freedom. You chose freedom. I'm just taking some for myself, too." She looked genuinely hurt, as if I had broken the rules of a game she had invented. But I didn't apologize. I grabbed my backpack, called Booker, and walked out the door. The hike with Maya was easy. We talked about everything and nothing. Her stressful shifts at the hospital, my frustrations with the market, our favorite books. It was just honest, clean. When I got home that evening, Chloe was waiting for me on the couch. Her eyes were red and puffy. "We need to talk," she said. I sat down in the armchair across from her. Booker settled at my feet, a warm, comforting weight. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "A huge mistake. I don't want this anymore. The open relationship thing. I want us to go back to how we were." "What changed?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "I miss you," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. I miss us. I thought this would make me feel free, but it just makes me feel anxious and insecure. I hate that you're seeing other people. It doesn't feel right. I waited, letting the silence stretch. She fidgeted with a loose thread on the sofa cushion. And what about Alex? I asked calmly. Her face went pale. What about him? Your friend from the co-working space. The one you've been texting constantly for the last 3 months. She looked down at her hands. He's just a friend. Is he? She bit her lip, refusing to meet my eyes. Then, quietly, I thought maybe there was something there. But I was wrong. So there it was. The truth, finally. So, this open relationship idea, I said, laying out the facts like I would in a market analysis. It wasn't really about us exploring. It was about you wanting permission to see where things went with him, without any of the risk. She didn't deny it. Tears were streaming down her face now. And now that you've discovered he wasn't interested in anything serious, I continued. Now that your little experiment failed, you want to close the door and come back to me. The safe bet, like nothing ever happened. That's not fair, she sobbed. Isn't it? Ethan, please, she begged. I love you. I made a terrible mistake. Can't we just start over? Here's the thing about mistakes. In my line of work, you learn to recognize patterns. When a company's stock shows declining fundamentals and a weak outlook, you don't hold on to it out of nostalgia. You cut your losses and reinvest in something with a better future. That's what I was doing with Chloe. I don't think we can, I said quietly. Why not? We can close the relationship again. We can go back to normal. Because normal wasn't working, Chloe. You said it yourself. You weren't ready for a future with me. For years, and you still needed to see what else was out there. That tells me everything I need to know. So you're just giving up? After everything we've been through? I'm not giving up, I corrected her gently. I'm choosing myself. There's a difference. I stood up and went to the bedroom. I started pulling clothes from the closet and packing them into a duffel bag. What are you doing? She asked from the doorway, her voice trembling. I'm going to stay with a friend for a few days, I said, not looking at her. Give us both some space. Ethan, don't do this, please. But I kept packing. Clothes, toiletries, Booker's food, and bowls. I wasn't angry. I wasn't yelling. I was just done. The emotional investment had been fully divested. Over the next 2 weeks, I found a studio apartment in the South Congress area. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. I signed the lease and started the slow process of moving my life out of the apartment I had shared with Chloe. She tried to talk to me every time I came by to pack, her pleas growing more desperate. I remained polite but firm. I think we both need a fresh start, I'd say. By mid-July, I was fully moved in. Booker loved the nearby park. And I loved the quiet. No more tension, no more mind games. Just me, my dog, and the profound clarity that comes from finally making a decision you should have made months ago. Sam, Maya, came over to help me unpack. We assembled an IKEA bookshelf, ordered tacos, and sat on the floor, laughing. Felt easy, natural. You seem lighter, she said. I feel lighter, I admitted. And it was true. In late August, Chloe sent me a long, rambling text message, a final, desperate plea. She was sorry. She was scared. She realized I was the one all along. Trevor, Alex, had been a mistake. She was ready now, ready to commit, ready to be the partner I deserved. I read it twice, then I showed it to Maya. Wow, she said softly. What are you going to say? I thought about it, then typed out my response carefully. Chloe, I appreciate you being honest, but you're not ready because you realized you want me. You're ready because you realized I'm not waiting around for you anymore. There's a big difference. You had 4 years to be sure about us. Now that I've moved on, suddenly you're ready. That's not how it works. I truly hope you find what you're looking for, but it's not going to be with me. Take care. I hit send and felt a final, definitive click, like a lock settling into place. Over the next few months, my life settled into a new, better routine. My work performance soared. I got a bonus. Maya and I grew closer. Our relationship built on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. We took it slow. There was no rush. I ran into Chloe once at a coffee shop. She looked tired. We exchanged a few awkward, polite words. "Are you happy?" she asked, her eyes full of a sad, hollow resignation. "I am," I said, and I meant it. "I hope you find your happiness too, Chloe." Looking back now, I realized that Chloe asking for an open relationship was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because I got to date other people, but because it was a clear, unambiguous signal. It was a data point I could no longer ignore. It forced me to confront the truth. She wasn't sure about me, and once I accepted that, the rest was easy. I didn't need to convince her of my worth. I just needed to believe in it myself. The revenge I got wasn't loud or dramatic. I didn't trash her online or expose her to our mutual friends. The coldest, most effective revenge was simply walking away. It was choosing myself. It was building a life so good that looking back felt pointless. It was letting her sit with the consequences of her choices, while I went and built something better. This story really makes you think about self-worth and boundaries in a relationship. Who do you think was wrong here, him or her? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you've ever felt lost but found yourself again, hit that like button. Let's support each other. If this story touched you, please subscribe to TalesFlix and turn on notifications. Your support helps these untold stories reach someone who needs them, and we have so many more to share. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.